Like I said at the beginning of Mass, I have a presentation, kind of my State of the Union, my Sermon on the Mount. But after hearing our lectors so beautifully, so grown-up-like, profess the Word, our singers, I only hope and pray I can do as well, or even half as well. About 800 years ago, while St. Francis was still young, he prayed in a small chapel called San Damiano. And he saw the lips of Jesus move on the crucifix, and he heard the words, "Francis, go rebuild my church, which you can see is falling in ruin." Francis looked around, and indeed, the church was in need of great repair. So in obedience, he picked up rocks and mortar and repaired that little church. After that, he continued to repair 2 more churches. But it was not until years later St. Francis realized he was not going to rebuild the physical church, but the church, that is, the people of God. And through Francis and the Franciscans, God did reform the Catholic Church and brought peace to a war-torn Assisi, Italy, and Europe. But this does not mean that Francis was wrong when he first picked up those rocks and that mortar. For those building projects became the home of the new Franciscans and Claire and her sisters, and became a first step in a long process of rebuilding the church, the people of God. About 500 years ago, Mary appeared to Juan Diego in modern-day Mexico as Spanish missionaries worked to teach the Christian faith to the Aztec people. Mary asked Juan to tell the bishops that she wished that a church would be built at the spot where she first appeared. The bishop refused to believe Juan until Juan brought to the bishop the sign that the bishop had asked for, Castilian roses, which only grow in Spain. As Juan unfolded his tilma in front of the bishop, not only did the Castilian roses fall to the ground, but an image of Our Lady was miraculously on the tilma. The bishop agreed to build that church that Our Lady had requested. That church had a purpose. There was displayed the tilma with the miraculous image, and to that church many native people came to see it. And there was Juan Diego, able to explain to them the catechesis that was contained in that image, a catechesis in symbols of the Aztec people. That building of a church then led to the building of the church, God's people. And in the 10 years after that apparition, 8 to 10 million people converted to Catholicism. I've been sent here to be your new pastor. I came to build God's church, the people of God. But in the short time I've been here, I see that like St. Francis and the early Franciscans, like Juan Diego and the building of that first little church, we must again physically build buildings. I'm amazed and blessed to have come here with so much good work that has gone before me, and to be surrounded by so many dedicated and talented fellow workers. Our Catholic school is an excellent school. Most recently, under the leadership of our principal, Mrs. April Buter, our school has grown from 160 students in 2012 to 232 students. And if you include our preschool, we have a total of 262 students. That's a growth of 60% in just the last 6 years. An excellent Catholic school is the very best way to hand down our Catholic faith to the next generation. It's the best way to form our children in positive values that will last a lifetime. The mission of forming our youth into faith is the responsibility of all of us. It is one of our greatest contributions to the mission of Jesus. And as I walk around the school and witness the work of the staff, as I observe the learning and experience the positive spirit of our school, as I speak with the children and hear especially their knowledge of the faith, I would also say it's one of our greatest joys. We can all be very proud of our Catholic school here at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. Our church is blessed with many young families attending our church and our religious education programs. Our confirmation program is the biggest it's ever been, with more than 120 candidates this year. It's led by Tom Bauman, with over 12 volunteer teachers and 20 peer leaders, last year's confirmation students or previous years, who are helping. Our religious education program, under the direction of Teresa Avila and a whole host of volunteers, currently serves approximately 120 families. That translates to over 230 children. Both these programs have significantly grown also over the last 6 years. But it does seem to me that as these programs have grown, they have squeezed out some of our other ministries. This church used to have a bereavement ministry that offered receptions in the hall after funerals. The church used to provide lunches and community activities in the hall for seniors. Ministries such as these and more have no space because the hall is used by our school now during the day for the music program. In the short time that I've been here already, I've been approached by people who have wished to begin new ministries, of a support group for caregivers, a family ministry, a social justice group, a Bible study. This is great. However, I'm hesitant to approve these efforts, knowing that our space is limited. Just last Monday night, we had 24 people come to our How to Pray workshop that I spontaneously offered during a homily, only to find that we didn't have room that night, as all our facilities were used. And so we went over to the Friary Chapel. Didn't even have enough chairs, and we had several chairs that held 2 adults sharing the same chair. I could offer many more examples of why we need more space, but I think you get the idea. More ministry space, with some of it dedicated for ministry, day and evenings, weekends and weekdays, is essential if we wish to continue to grow and build God's church, the people of God. This is why I've come to recognize the importance of our current capital campaign, begun under Father Joe's leadership, to add physical space to our church and school. I embrace this capital campaign. I embrace it not as an end, but as an important step in the process of bringing more people to Christ and the body of Christ, his church. As Catholics, it's our collective responsibility to participate in the mission of the building of the church, both spiritual and physical, and especially in the formation of our next generation. Whether we have children of our own or not, it is just as true today as it has always been. It takes an entire community to raise the next generation and to pass on our faith. And so, I know you know, but I want to make very clear just what is being proposed to be added in this capital campaign. The planned addition to our school and church gives the school and church more classroom, more meeting and ministry space for the building of our parish. This capital campaign adds a second floor to our school and church facility, right out there, above our parking lot. It gives the school a dedicated STEM lab, that is a science, technology, engineering, and math laboratory, and a multi-purpose music room and art room that will be shared between the school and the church. It gives us an additional outdoor gathering space outside of that multi-purpose room, and the spaces can be shared by both the church and the school. The recognition of this need is not new. It has been recognized by our two previous pastors, Father Joe and Father Ray. And it's part of the 5-year plan that was written and presented, turns out, 5 years ago now. This is a capital campaign that is needed for both school and the church. More detail. What does the school really gain? Our children are being formed as Catholic Christians who go out into the world as leaders, salt of the earth, catalysts for a better world. As such, they need a complete quality education in addition to their faith and values. The addition to the school will help prepare our children to go on to quality high schools, colleges, and beyond, and take up roles as leaders in all areas of world and society. Given the quality of the schools in this area with which we must compete, especially being here in Southern California where our economy is so high technology based and changes at such a rapid pace, we need these additions now to give our children the best we can. This building project gives to the school this STEM lab, music and arts room, and additional meeting space that is an essential next step in the evolving parish mission to build the kingdom for the future for all our children. What does the church gain? Church has a lot to gain. As the school has expanded to provide our preschool program, the church office space was used for the school. This new building project will allow the church to reclaim the use of almost 1,500 square feet of space currently used by the school offices, right over there. This space can become dedicated ministry space for current and future ministries of our church. This project would give the church from 3 to 5 new ministry rooms. In addition, since the school music program will move from the hall to the multi-purpose room, this project also frees up the hall during the day that the church can use when needed, for example, for banquets after funerals or senior ministry with a meal. The church gains still more. The project gives the church shared use of the multi-purpose room and that gathering space outside. And this can be shared between the church and the school and the religious education programs after school and on weekends. This space can provide gathering before and after masses. It can serve as a gathering and exit space for families grieving the loss of loved ones after funerals or celebrating new life after baptisms and weddings. Currently, these celebrations empty out of the church into the street, endangering both themselves and others. This space can further serve the neighborhood events and serve as a wonderful space for our young families to walk a child around a bit during Mass and still perhaps view the liturgy on a large screen TV. And all this is without, again, losing any parking because it's on the second floor. What's the status of the campaign? When is the schedule to start? The current schedule is to break ground beginning construction this coming summer, June 15th, 2019, at 8 a.m. It's important that we meet this date. We had already planned to break ground this summer. Each year that goes by, the cost only goes up, and it's harder to keep up our enthusiasm, our commitment. Our architect and project manager believe this schedule is possible. We are currently going through permitting process with the City of Hermosa Beach and working with the Archdiocese of Los Angeles for approval to produce the final detailed design documents. But to get this final approval from the Archdiocese, we must first demonstrate we have funding in place. The Archdiocese requires a parish to have 60% of the cost of the project on hand, and the balance of the project to be covered in pledges over the next 5 years. For our project, then, to keep on schedule, breaking ground on June 2019, we need to reach these financial goals by February 1st next year, 2019. The current estimated cost of the buildings and the addition is $3 million. We currently have received more than $850,000 in pledges and $430,000 in cash. I am grateful for this hard work and the sacrifice. Additionally, we've also had $900,000 in our building fund. You have been contributing to that over the years, and I thank you very much for those contributions. This means that by February 1st, 2019, we need to collect an additional $465,000 in cash and $1.2 million in pledges over the next 5 years. Allow me to emphasize this point. This goal is needed by February 1st in order to receive approval to break ground this summer, first day of summer break for the school. We have to raise $465,000 in cash and $1.2 million in pledges over the next 5 years. I thank you for all that has been accomplished so far in this campaign. And I am aware that over the better part of the last 15 years, many of you have generously donated money, sacrificed for the remodel of the church, remodel of the friary. I, parish, and all the friars are grateful for this. And I am aware that over time it is natural to get tired of continuing to give and of continuing to be asked to give by your church and the Archdiocese. Realizing this, one of the first things I did as pastor is really to investigate this campaign, decide whether it was really necessary. My investigation has convinced me that it is necessary. And I believe it can become an opportunity to further unite us in the mission of making disciples of Jesus. I hope that this presentation shows that I've done some work to understand if this is really necessary, what it's about, how it came to be, and why it's a good idea. So now I'm asking your continued help and support. Or, if you've not participated yet, I am asking that you help us now to complete this campaign. In the pews, you will find new, very large, colored pledge cards. Many of you have pledged already and are in the process of fulfilling your pledge. So I thank you for that. And we are counting on you to continue those pledges. But I'd like to ask the people at the ends of the pew to take the time to pass down to everyone one of the larger pledge cards. Thank you. Again, I know many of you have pledged. Many of you have made one-time donations, and I thank you for that. Many of you have actually completed your pledge, and I thank you for that. But again, if you have not yet joined us in this effort, we really need to have everyone on board. On the back of the pledge card, you'll see a table. And if every family in the table chose one of those lines, according to your ability, we would make our goal. But I also know and trust that you in prayer will decide what you can sacrifice. So please, prayerfully consider if you are in a position to sacrifice at this time. Either for the first time or if you have already, maybe consider another donation or a new pledge. I'm asking everyone to please take a pledge card home with you. Prayerfully consider what you can sacrifice for this campaign. And return the cards next week or in the coming weeks into the collection. You can also pledge online or donate directly online through our website. Or the pledge card gives you information on how to pledge online. Let's be a church united in mission, sacrificing towards this goal and building church together. In conclusion, just a few more words. I didn't come to this church to raise money to build buildings. And I'm sure you don't come to this church to give money and build buildings. But as my opening paragraphs tried to show, that building the church, the people of God, is a long process that does often include the building of buildings. My vision for Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish community, that's the community that includes both the church and the school, is for us to be a community that is on fire on a mission of forming disciples of Jesus Christ and bringing many more people to his church. I do not wish to simply maintain an institution. My previous experiences as pastor and parish priests have convinced me that the church needs leaders who have the same vision of church as Jesus did. That is, a vision of church that calls and forms people to become his disciples. We are called to be a church that invites people to an encounter with Jesus, that ignites a spark of faith in their heart and helps them to grow closer to Jesus through personal prayer, study, fellowship, active participation in sacraments and liturgy, and then, thus formed as disciples of Jesus, seeking to hear the call of God in their lives and discover how to use their gifts and talents to build up the kingdom, both in the church and in the world. This forming of disciples is what gives birth to ministries, both in the church and in the world. This capital campaign can provide the much-needed space for some of those ministries. This building of church is a bottom-up approach. It's a vision that takes sacrifice and patience, but it's one that builds a solid foundation on which the church, the people of God, is built. There is no greater purpose for which one can live. There's no greater joy one can have than to share in the mission of Jesus. Will you join me in this mission of building God's church? If you are willing to say yes to the bigger mission, please also, in your pews, find a prayer card. And take this prayer card home and pray. It's a prayer for the growth of our church, both the physical and spiritual. So I'd ask the people also at the ends of the pews to pass down a prayer card. So please, I'm asking everyone to say yes. Take home a pledge card. Consider it. Bring it back. Take home a prayer card and pray it every day. As we come to the end of this year, consider us also in your end-of-year givings. Consider if your businesses, places of work have a sharing donation program. Please, let's all work together in building God's church. Thank you.